Welcome to the Wheel With It podcast with your host, Devin Wieters. We're a community that is committed to celebrating diversity and inclusion, providing and promoting disability education and awareness, and having fun too. Remember to rate and review the podcast and enjoy the show.
I'm excited to join you in this podcast, Evan. Thank you for
first of
inviting
all,
me
tell
to
us
join
about
you.
yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I was born with cerebral palsy. I did not learn to walk till I was about 4 years old. So during those 4 years, my mom took me to about 7, 8, 9 doctors all over our state to see what was wrong because I didn't have the diagnosis of cerebral palsy at the time. And most of the doctors took one look at me, shook their heads, and said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Wichansky, there's really nothing to do. Paul will never be able to learn to walk." And I want to fast forward 23 years later. I'm in graduate school, and I'm going to a lecture by an orthopedist. I told my mom the orthopedist's name, and to her, it was not a fond recollection. That was the same orthopedist who told my mom years ago that I would never be able to learn to walk. Now I am in his audience, and my heart wanted very much to raise my hand. I would stand up from my seat. I eventually learned to walk. So I would stand up from my seat and I would say, "You were the orthopedist who told my mom years ago that I would never be able to learn to walk. Now here I am in front of you because I'm standing in front of you now because my mom found another orthopedist who provided what you could not, hope for the patient. Because there was no reason for my mom to leave in disgust. Would I be standing in front of you today if my mom accepted your medical opinion at the time?" My head just said, "Don't do this, Paul. You have medical students all around you. You don't want to disappoint and embarrass the speaker, all right? The medical students are so excited around you. Don't do this." Now my heart wanted to do it. My head said, "Don't do it." What would you do in that situation?
I like to say I wouldn't do that, but I probably would just pull him aside privately and say, "Look, I'm the, patient that you took."
So you would go privately to the orthopedist after his program and explain to him that was what I wanted to do afterwards. All right? But at the end, I just listened to the program, my chin resting on my hand, and I decided to forgive him. I forgave him because I had all this anger inside, all this hate, and I just let it go because it wasn't worth it. But also, I needed to forgive myself for having negative thoughts about the orthopedist. So forgiveness is a two-way street. It's always a two-way street. And when we forgive someone, our life is so much better and so much brighter because we are not consumed by anger or frustration or hate. You know, and I always looked at this challenge of cerebral palsy not as a disability. What if you take the 3 letters out of that word, disability? What are you left with?
Ability.
Exactly. Everyone has abilities, and that is exactly what we need to focus on. So this is not a disability, but we both have gifts. We both have the gift of cerebral palsy in life. And it's our attitude that lets us see that as a
Well,
gift.
that's really powerful, Paul. Wow. I told you to tell us about yourself, not that. Okay, yeah, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
But that was really, really powerful. Wow. I don't even know where to go from there.
Wow. Thank you.
I guess tell us the work you're doing to try to destigmatize disability.
That's a great question, Devin. The work I am doing is I'm going around to schools, colleges, and companies around my state and around the country, trying to share stories with them about motivation and perseverance, never giving up on your dreams, chasing your dreams, and being resilient in the face of adversity. Trying to give them a personal idea of trying to erase the stereotypes of disability, because we all have challenges. Every single one of us has a challenge in our lives. But if we see our challenges as gifts, then we have the motivation and the perseverance to overcome them, to triumph over them. And if we work hard, we eventually get to our dreams and goals in life. Now my dream, my single dream for as long as I can remember, was to one day be able to stand up and to walk. And I'm doing that right now. I remember I could not walk well, and the first time the first time I walked was when I went into a toy store with my mom holding my hand. When my mom and I got into the toy store, she saw somebody she recognized, a young mother. And when you get 2 young mothers who love to chat, chances are you're not going anywhere anytime soon. And I certainly did not want to listen to them with toys all around me. So Mom let me go, and I got lost. I actually got lost in a toy store. How do you think my mom felt?
Probably.
Was she scared?
Probably
Was she nervous?
terrified,
Was she frightened?
because I got lost in a mall once, and there was and I didn't even have to. My grandma was right at the end of the aisle, and I didn't see her. But I got lost in a mall once, and I was terrified, and she was kind of scared, and it was a big mess. So I can only imagine how she felt.
But my mom was thrilled I got lost. It doesn't make any sense, right? Why would a mother be thrilled when she could not find her young son in the whole store? Because for the first time in both of our lives, I walked away from her.
That's amazing. You're trying to make me cry already.
Exactly. And my mom was proud because I reached a little achievement, a little victory in my dream of learning how to walk. I walked away from her. And I didn't realize it at the time because I wanted to build a car model. I love building car models. I was so concentrated on building car models that I did not recognize my victory. And Mom did not point it out. She walked home with a big smile on her face. So over the years, my walking improved. And when I was 18, I finally got my driver's license. That was a milestone in my life. And, when you walk into a supermarket, a shop mall, restaurant, a movie theater with a big smile on your face, it's contagious. The world smiles back at you all the time. So, when I'm learning how to drive, I'm looking around all the other drivers. Nobody is smiling.
Yeah, and probably no one is smiling, at least here, because they have to deal with crazy drivers, and if you break concentration for a second, your car is totaled. So...
Exactly. You have to deal with crazy drivers. You have to deal with road rage and stuff. Plan A. I try to drive like a grandma.
If I ever drive...
No, yeah, it's funny, but think about this. If you go on the highway 5 miles an hour slower than the other cars around you, there's one big benefit. There's never any traffic in front of you.
That is one benefit.
Right.
And quick story, my aunt, who might listen to this, when my cousin, I don't drive yet, but when my older cousin started driving, because my aunt doesn't have any kids, so we were like her kids. And when my my older cousin started driving, my aunt told her to be proud that she drives like a grandmother because at least she's driving responsibly. So, we are in the proud grandmother / future grandmother drivers club, and no shame.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You drive with courtesy, with responsibility, and with patience. Patience is the key.
Yes, and so forgive me if this is a personal question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. And if you want us to cut it out, we will cut it out. But why was walking so important to you?
Well, it's always been my dream. That's a good question. Why has walking been so important to me? Well, when I was about 3 or 4 years old, I still could not walk. And I see everybody walking around, and I'm beginning to think something's wrong with my legs. I want to be able to learn to walk like everybody else, and like many people do. And it's just a sense of getting more independence. And I can't walk that far, but I can walk. And it's like a milestone, an achievement in my life. But some people who have cerebral palsy cannot walk at all. All right? And I'm just lucky to be able to learn to walk. All right? But I'm not going to be a bodybuilder
Me neither.
anytime soon.
I'm not going to be an Olympic figure skater, gymnast, or bodybuilder. So we're both in that club.
Exactly. We love to be one. In our dreams, we are always twirling around like figure skating a perfect 8 or something, or on the ballet stage, performing ballet, or singing, or dancing, or but in our minds, it's okay to have dreams like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have some dreams like that, but honestly, I've gotten to the point now where I'm in a wheelchair in my dreams too, and that's fine. But yeah, it's definitely okay to have dreams like that. Can I ask you? And can I ask you? And again, if this is too personal and you want us to cut it out, we'll cut it out. But do you ever regret learning how to walk? How far can you walk, first of all? And do you ever regret learning how to walk? Or, Do you ever regret learning how to walk?
Wait, I didn't hear that.
Do you ever regret learning how to walk?
Well, I can walk. My feet were turned
But
inwards. They
but I'm
facing
saying,
each
like,
other.
do you ever
Years.
do you think it was like a waste of time and energy to learn how to walk, or are you glad you did it?
I thought it was a waste of time beginning. Alright. Some people cannot walk at all. Alright, and but what people do is focus on the wheelchairs. And they should not do that. Because the wheelchairs do not have feelings. They do not have dreams. They do not have goals. It's a person inside the wheelchair that is so important. Alright? I was very fortunate to be able to learn to walk. I don't consider it a matter of importance. Alright? But it helped me become more independent. Alright? And that's how I get around. I can't walk as well as a normal person. I wobble a lot. I keep my feet apart. And when you do that, you wobble. But in my mind, I'm walking like everybody else in my family. That's a very good question.
So, tell me about your. So, do you use a wheelchair at all?
No, I don't use a wheelchair. I broke my femur about 3 years ago, and I had to use a wheelchair for about 3 to 4 months, and I eventually learned how to walk again.
So, let me ask you, because the CP nerd in me is just very curious. What
Yes.
type of CP do you have, first of all?
I have a CP called ataxia, ATAXIA, and it's a mild form. It is not really severe, and it just affects my arms, my talking. It affects my tongue a little bit, and it affects my legs mostly.
Okay, and so what was the physical therapy process like to learn how to walk?
I went through a lot of physical therapy over the years. I had occupational therapy too, and speech therapy to help improve my talking and get rid of stuttering. I used to stutter all the time. I learned how to brush my teeth. That was a big deal. I learned how to brush my teeth when I was 12 years old, and I never used an electric toothbrush before, and my father got me one for a birthday gift when I was 12, but he never showed me how to use it. So the first time I held my teeth, my mouth open, and I was spraying the mirror with all the toothpaste when I turned it on. And my father saw this. He ran back into the bathroom and said, "Paul, you are not brushing the mirror. You're brushing your teeth. Then shut your mouth before you turn it on." So I did that. And I'm now 50 years old, and I still don't have one cavity. That's
That
pretty
is
good,
amazing.
right? Amazing.
Just again, I'm curious. Do you use any kind of special toothpaste? Do you have any sensory issues with toothpaste? And if so, what type of toothpaste do you recommend?
No, I just use a regular Sonicare electric toothbrush, and I've used one for years. I also use Waterpick, and I floss just take care of my teeth. But it's not a special toothpaste.
Okay.
Not a special toothpaste
So,
at all.
do you know of any sensory-friendly toothpaste?
Do I know of any what?
Sensory-friendly toothpaste.
Sensory-friendly toothpaste. Well,
It's okay if you don't. I'm just
I use a toothpaste called Closis. It's sulfate-free. I don't need all those bubbles in my mouth, so I use a sulfate-free toothpaste. But I don't really have any sensory issues.
Okay.
My gums are receding a little bit, but it's no big problem. I can still eat ice cream. I can still drink hot liquids, so it's really no problem.
So, tell us. You mentioned your parents in that last answer. What were your parents like? Were they supportive of you?
My parents were very supportive of my achievements, my goals. And my mom was especially supportive. She was the emotional type. She always wanted me to have fun. And it's very difficult to please my dad. He has given me confidence over the years. He has given me motivation and perseverance. But he rarely compliments me on a good job. I later learned that he tells all his friends about all the good things I've been doing, but never to me. So he just doesn't want me to get it into my head. I guess that's
why.
And to have a mother who's more emotional and a father who rarely shares his emotions, but is very confident and motivating. It's really the best combination of parents. I'm very lucky to have them.
Yeah.
My mom, she passed away about 3 years ago.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. But she's still very much alive.
Yeah.
And I feel she's living life through my eyes today.
That's really sweet.
Thank you.
So, on a completely different subject, what is your doctorate in?
That's a good question. My doctorate is in meteorology and environmental science.
What got you into that field?
I love it. I love the weather. It's the only career where you could be wrong and still keep your job.
That's funny.
Just a little humor.
How long did it take you to get the doctorate?
19 years.
It took you 19 years?
Yes, 4 years of college and about 15 years of graduate school.
Dang!
The reason why it took that long was that during the school year, I was giving assemblies at schools. I was visiting different schools around my state, around the country, and giving presentation to keynotes about my disability. And, speaking for all that time about overcoming our challenges and never giving up on them really meant a lot to me personally, because I felt like I was making a difference. And it felt really good to, get away from the computer for the day and visit a school and give a presentation in front of a new class, in front of a new audience, and make the audience smile and believe in themselves and their goals. And I love doing that. It's my passion in life now.
That's awesome. So speaking of your public speaking, you gave a TED Talk. Tell us about that TED Talk and how you got invited to speak at TEDx and all of that stuff.
Alright? I was invited to give a TED Talk about 3 or 4 years ago at a Long Island school. And it turns out that there was only one take. There were no reshoots allowed. So they were only filming in one take. The first take is what they're using. So the TED Talk comes from the heart. I didn't use any notes. And I focused the TED Talk on taking the dis out of the word disability. Because when you do that, you're left with ability. Everyone has abilities, but not everybody focuses on them like they should. And I just used myself as an example and shared with them my dream of learning how to walk and skydiving, jumping out of a plane. And I love doing that. I did that twice. I didn't tell my parents for a whole month that I actually jumped out of a plane.
So, for the record, I do not want to jump out of a plane ever, so you can have that one. And what made you want to jump out of a plane? I have to ask.
I'm terrified of heights. And I figure that one way to get over the fear is to confront it directly. And my friend asked me, out of the blue, I was at a restaurant having dinner. He asked me out of the blue, Paul, how would you like to jump out of a plane? And I said, you gotta be nuts. I'd rather land with a plane, not jump out of it.
Yeah, that's what I would have said, and then I would have said, don't ask me that again.
It was hilarious. And he convinced me. He said, I've seen your school assemblies. What would your students think if you shared with them a video of your skydive? What would they think? And I said, you got a point there, count me in. But I didn't tell my family. I did not tell my family until a month after my skydive. But it's interesting. I was pushed out of the plane. I didn't jump out. I was pushed out. And I'm falling at 200 feet a second for 1 minute. You can't scream. If you open your mouth, you choke on the air. They have to shut your mouth and just hang up. And then after the parachute opened, it was, wow, it was just amazing. It was so silent. I looked to my left and there was Atlantic City. I looked to my right and there was Philadelphia. So I saw all of New Jersey below me, a mile up in the air. I'm a mile high, about 5,200 feet. And I looked down, all of New Jersey is below me. And I'm thinking, this is our only home. This is where each of us are born. We live our lives in different towns, in different states, different countries. And unfortunately, this is where we end our lives too. If this is our only home, why does hate, greed, intolerance, and violence exist? When all we need to do is open our hearts to love, kindness, respect for those who are different. And when we learn about others, doesn't that erase fear? Doesn't that make people more comfortable around people that are different from us?
Okay, bye guys. See you next week. No, I'm just kidding. But that's wow. We are almost at the end of our time, so I have a few rapid fire questions for you. Would you like to answer them?
Okay.
Fill in the blank. Inclusion is.
What? I didn't hear you.
Fill in the blank. Inclusion is.
Inclusion is including everybody together.
And what has got you hopeful?
What's got me hopeful is a positive attitude. When you have a positive attitude, the sky is the limit, and you don't need to jump out of a plane to prove it.
And where can people find you on social media?
I have my own website, which I designed myself. It's my favorite Billy Joel song. www.justthewayouare.com.
Okay. Paul, this is truly, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, this is truly one of the most inspiring conversations we've ever done, and I don't even have words for you, to be honest. And I want to speak for a living doing this, so that is hard to, pull off, but I really don't have any words for you. We will see you guys next episode. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, and always keep smiling. It makes people wonder what you've been up to.
Bye, guys. See you next episode.